how do you advise clients to be agentic ready before they rush to deploy agents in the enterprise?
Every customer that I've worked with that has been successful in these early agent implementations, they've all picked a problem or a business process for which they had data and context, they had standard operating procedures. It was a known problem in a workflow, and so to your point around trying to automate the wrong thing, they take the time and the diligence, and that's kind of in the old world we would call this application rationalization. I guess in the new world we might call this agentic workflow rationalization, and that's taking inventory of all the things that you might choose to do and being very methodical about picking one that has the data, the context, the documentation. That's absolutely critical. Then once you've identified that very specific workflow that you're trying to automate and execute, it's also extremely important to have a sense of how you're going to evaluate completion and success. And evals actually and evaluations tend to be one of the stickiest parts of the kind of agentic development workflow today, because think about it like a manager at a desk, and in the past, the work that would come to that manager would be gated by how fast humans could bring decisions or bring execution tasks to that manager. And so, it was a steady stream of them. Today, agents and automation can bring many, many tasks for approval, and it overwhelms a human's ability to make decisions fast enough. So the only way out of that trap is to design evaluations and AI as a judge or AI as a critic or AI as an evaluator, so that the AI itself and the agents themselves can evaluate task completion, whether it's good enough or not, and either send agents back to do a better job or move on to the next step in the workflow. And that is a unique problem that kind of transcends RPA, which is RPA being kind of like single task, single automation. These are multi-task, multi-step automation concerns now. And looking ahead a little bit, one of the things that we see is that most of the value from agents will be derived from multi-step, multi-task, multi-agent workflows.
This idea of intelligence or judgment, I don't think you use those terms, as being a key distinguishing factor. It seems to me that's the point that actually changes all of this.
That's absolutely true. And we call it evals or AI as judge or AI as a critic. But it is the step at which companies themselves and organizations themselves also have to, in some cases, for the first time, actually document what their decision rules are. I come from the enterprise. I've been working in enterprise technology for a few decades now, longer than I would like to specify very specifically. But one of the things that happens in a lot of companies, and most companies that I work with and I've worked in, is there's the process, there's the documentation, and then there's the human judgment, unspoken norms and things that sit underneath the surface. And so in order to give, the software is very explicit. If you say, I want, we're working with a company right now, and part of what we're working on is people want to buy home goods, but they want to be able to see it in their kind of living space before they choose. And so if you're going to create an AI as kind of a designer to automate these processes and to create this kind of like, before you buy it, like, let's put it in your space, that's a very complex problem, because you're dealing with physics, you're dealing with inventory, real-time inventory. There's a lot of very complicated pieces to making this design work really well. And so what we've had to do is we've had to architect evaluation at multiple steps in the process. The first step is, okay, so the AI has come back and said, I want to create this type of setup in this room. Well, first off, does it defy the laws of physics? A funny little quirk is, one thing that we found when we were first starting to do this is that, manipulating objects in three-dimensional space, sometimes we'd have like a couch sitting on its side. And so we had to actually give explicit instructions to the evaluating agent to say, it has to sit with, the bottom oriented towards the bottom of the space. We actually had to orient the physics. So that's step one. Step two is this item actually, an item that's in our inventory, a very specific item? And so that was a second evaluation and critique. A third evaluation and critique was, there are certain clusters. If you ever go to like a home design showroom, you'll see that they purposefully put like an end table and a chair and a lamp and a plant. They put them all together in clusters. One of the things we learned is that these clusters should meet certain brand criteria or brand sensibilities. And so depending on which company you're working with, they may have different clusters. So the clusters had to match the design sensibilities and the brand sensibilities of that. So we're already in like 4 different evaluation steps. And that it's that methodical definition and methodical evaluation, and instrumenting all of that, that, to your point, that really unlocks the scale. Once you get that right, then you can send lots of different requests and lots of different users through that same pipeline, and it meets the brand guidelines, it matches the laws of physics, and it actually matches inventory. It can create some pretty magical experiences.
It's really interesting the way you describe these eval points, putting them through the entire process frequently enough. Would it be correct to say that you are making many, 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 many small course corrections? Is that an accurate way to say it?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And one of the most interesting things to me about agents, and I've been around AI, both, kind of pre-generative AI and now, generative AI and agents for about 20 years. And one of the things that's really interesting to me is once you get into agents and agentic workflows, you're actually creating a trail of behaviors, documents, log files, telemetry that is at a scale that far surpasses kind of the business intelligence, like the operations logs of a business today are all gated on manual workflows. There's a human in every loop. Well, the more that you get to agents and automation and these automated workflows, you're actually creating more data and exhaust to analyze the behaviors of the agents themselves. So it's kind of a recursion, which is like the more agents you have, the more interactions you have, the more telemetry you have, which then you can analyze their behaviors and you can actually refine them. So to your point, Michael, it's an iterative cycle. Nothing works the first time. Nothing works the first time. When we, from the most simple single flow agent to handling, like an inbound issue in customer service, to the most complex workflows of like trying to do financial reconciliation at the end of a quarter, that has to pull off of treasury, it has to pull off of systems of record, and has to be, match SEC rules for disclosures. That is, this volume, this analysis, and being very methodical about capturing what the agents are doing is both one of the greatest challenges and one of the greatest opportunities. Like debugging multi-agent workflows right now is very, very complicated.